It's time to talk about the Battlefield 2042 beta. Now, it's very early on, but I have managed to get a couple of hours from the original capture session, which I was invited to early to play, and a couple of hours today while streaming, and give you guys a more comprehensive breakdown. I didn't want to make this video too early because I really wanted to get to grips with everything that was happening, and I really wanted to understand the full situation in 2042. Battlefield 2042 is really fun, and it has been an enjoyable experience for pretty much all of the hours I've played out of it, but I have noticed some really frustrating elements as well. And I think a lot of this is down to the fact that the build that we're currently playing is already a couple of months old, on top of the extra month that they've been given for development. So some of this stuff most likely would have been smoothed out already, but there are some general concerns about the game that I do have, and want to talk about in this video today. At a base level, I think I really enjoyed my time with 2042. It's a lot of fun, and it gives me Battlefield 4 feelings, and the first time I sniped a helicopter out of the air with a tank, I just sort of sat there and went, wow, you know, this feels like 2013, 2014 all over again. And it does have those moments where the gunplay feels just right, where the vehicle play feels just right, where you get those immersion moments where the storms are going off, or the helicopter's just done something mad, or a jet has just smashed into the ground. And it's very reminiscent of battlefields from modern eras in the past. And that's great, you know, it has those really bright glimmers, those bright flashes of moments where things are really, really impressive. And I think when you're looking at any video game, I think the fundamental question is, are you having fun? And when it came to Battlefield, I did. There are a couple of areas where the gunplay actually shines pretty well, and certain elements of the game shine impressively. Battlefield 2042's gunplay is very well balanced, even for a beta. The guns do lack some bullet velocity, but I think that's by intention. Assault rifles work at medium range, but definitely have to be tap-fired or semi-auto to hit people at longer ranges, which is fantastic. SMGs are super lethal at close range, but some of them have really heavy recoil, and the ones that don't trade off damage for that recoil. Snipers do have a one-shot headshot, but don't necessarily kill people with one body shot. And that's great news for the game. If 2042 featured super overpowered snipers, people would complain a lot more. And fundamentally, it's ticking a lot of the right boxes when it comes to gunplay. There's definitely a certain degree of oomph missing from the weapons, and the sound of the weapons could be a little bit better as well. But I think in terms of the physical meta of the game in terms of gunplay, things are feeling good. The body shots definitely don't do enough. You do have to land some headshots to beat somebody, and fundamentally it means whoever is the most accurate wins. The actual vehicle gameplay as well feels fantastic, jets being a minor exception to that rule. Tanks feel fantastic, had a great time with that as somebody who's played a lot of tanking in Battlefield 4. The helicopters feel really, really good, albeit a tiny little bit too floaty in some places, but in terms of heavy helicopters or heavy transport helicopters or the VTOLs, they feel like they're doing a certain role, whereas the Little Bird and the attack helicopters are sort of a medium and light variant, and it works really, really well. You can pull off some really impressive maneuvers. In fact, in Little Bird, you can actually flip the helicopter in order to dodge missiles, which is fantastic. And overarchingly, as somebody who played as a helicopter player and as a vehicle player generally quite a lot in Battlefield 4, I'm really happy with where it's at so far, provided the metagame and unlocks continue to go in a good direction. Now let's talk about what could be better. I'm not going to really talk about bugs or glitches or issues because this is a really old build to some degree. I would estimate around the region of a couple of months, 3 months maybe, and it wouldn't really be representative of the game on launch, but it is something to be weary of. The game on launch definitely needs to be way better than the beta, but that's something I think a lot of people will need to judge on day one. I don't recommend pre-ordering this title. It's something you need to see on day one to see if it's in the right state. And I think there are some areas of the game that do need drastic improvement. Audio generally seems lacking in places. When you're using a tank, it feels fantastic. When you're using a helicopter, it feels fantastic. But when you fire an assault rifle, it feels very tinny. And positional audio especially doesn't feel great. I've had people fire assault rifles not 20 meters away from me, and it seems as though they're not really anywhere near me. So something that definitely needs looking at 100%. And there also is a couple of other issues as well. For example, there are certain things that we've learned from previous games that are back with a vengeance. Rockets who have anti-aircraft missiles have 3 lock-on missiles. That needs to be gotten rid of. Grenade spam is definitely back. That needs to be gotten rid of. AD spam, where somebody moves left and right while shooting, is back. That needs to be gotten rid of. And there are just some general, quality of life things we've learned in the Battlefield franchise that I think need to be removed from launch, like AD spam, like grenade spam, like anti-aircraft rockets being too excessive. These are things that need addressing because it's just basic things that we expect from Battlefield. The servers are also only running at 45 Hz, and I do believe 60 should be the minimum for Battlefield, and that's something that I feel needs looking at. There are a couple of other quality of life things as well, such as the fact that when you go to revive somebody, it's square to tap a revive, and it's also the same button to pick up a weapon, so if they are on top of each other it gets really awkward. And the actual controller settings need a more or less complete overhaul. The controller settings in this game are really bad. They don't really allow you to have a full cohesive control. I tried for possibly an hour and a half, 2 hours of just straight testing to get the controls to feel responsive, to feel good, to feel like what I was doing on the analog stick matched what happened on screen. I still think Warzone holds the crown for having really great controller settings, and it seems strange because they've added lots of settings like vertical aim acceleration, which you don't need for controllers, but they've also changed a couple of other settings, and it just gets very messy very quickly. And Battlefield is renowned for having fantastic settings on controllers in the past, so they really just need to copy and paste the Battlefield 5 menus and call it a day there. Overarchingly though, that is kind of the extent of some of the issues that I've noticed on the front, just basic quality of life things, controller settings, AD spam, AA spam, the kind of things that we expect to be right. Now, there is a bigger issue, and the bigger issue is something that I want to talk about because it needs addressing fast, way before launch. And these are things that I feel could make or break the gunplay and gameplay situation in 2042. So, for example, at the moment there is an armor plate which gives you 20% extra health, which is a 20% increase in time to kill if somebody's landing body shots. Absolutely shouldn't be in the game. That's like adding 2 layers of TTK to one version of Battlefield. Armor plates need complete removing from the game, absolutely, right here, right now. There's also some other issues with compositions. For example, Falk, who is the Surette pistol user and can heal themselves and heal the area, has the ability to shoot the floor and then run into the affected area to heal themselves. And she can also use ammo, so she effectively can be a one-man army with infinite amounts of ammunition and the ability to consistently and quickly heal herself. I don't think that should be in the game. Self-healing shouldn't be a thing, or if it is a thing, it should be very, very, very slow to recharge, or it should have a really long animation. It shouldn't be as simple as shooting the floor and running over it. It should only really affect teammates in that kind of way. And again, that kind of composition issue I think is going to be something that comes up a lot with this sort of specialist system. The fact that Falk can have unlimited ammo and also unlimited Surette pistols seems pretty insane. It's pretty much infinite health and infinite ammo, which is not something you want. At the same time, we also have other issues where certain healing items or certain weaponry items or certain explosive items or certain ammunition items can be combined. You can take a rocket launcher and an ammo crate, and in principle I just don't think that should be something that exists, or if it does exist, things like rockets and grenades need to have their own timers. That's something that needs to be looked at pretty much immediately. But definitely the health plate thing, very much a tricky situation, and certain compositions of gadgets and equipments need to be looked at. These things could break the metagame, and the ability for somebody like Falk to just constantly heal themselves in fractions of a second is something that can become very tiring and something that can break the gameplay very quickly. The UI has this really annoying thing where the top of the screen does this big forehead banner whenever an objective is captured, and stuff like that gets really frustrating. And I think overarchingly, this is what worries me with Battlefield 2042, is a lot of it is down to refinement. Refinement of the overall product. And again, we are on a build that's super old, but the game feels like it has so much potential. The core gameplay loop feels incredible. But it's things like refining the UI, it's things like performance getting a bump from a little bit more optimization, it's things like refining the metagame so that no individual specialist is too overpowered. Those are the things that really need looking at, and I think if they nail those down and get those right by November 12th, which allegedly some of them have already been dealt with, is a great thing, and this game could offer hours upon hours of replayability. And I think a lot of it will be nailed down because it is just basic quality of life stuff in Battlefield. AD spam has not been in Battlefield since BF4 and BF5. You know, grenade spam has been something that's been addressed multiple times. These are the kinds of things that can be addressed. It's only the new stuff, the new quality of life things that do concern me, like specialists and the compositions of those specialists, or the fact that AI seem to take vehicles somehow. These are the kinds of things that are just on the fine line of could break the game in some places or could be very good, and they just need that extra layer of polish. But overarchingly, I think I've had the most fun in a Battlefield title since Battlefield 4, and I don't think Orbital is a really, statement map. I think it's a pretty good map. I don't know if I'd describe it as a 10 out of 10 map. I think there are lots of areas without cover that definitely need some more cover, or micro terrain, or whatever it happens to be. But the flow of the game felt Battlefield. The chaos felt Battlefield. Conquest felt like Battlefield. Vehicles felt like Battlefield. With some improvements to areas like audio, some quality of life improvements, and definitely some optimization improvements, the game could be in a really good place. And I think it's really up to us to just wait for day one to see if that's going to stand up, or if it's something that needed even more time. But we're going to have to wait to see. But overarchingly, I think there's a really good game here, and I think it's something a lot of us are going to enjoy. So folks, that's about it for 2042 today. If you enjoyed this, leave a like, leave a sub, there'll be plenty more on the channel soon, and I'll catch you in the next one.